And action.
You're getting really good at that, honey. Welcome to an Intentional Marriage Podcast. We are your hosts, Kristen and Chad Cottingham, and we are here to talk about all things marriage because we know great marriages don't just happen. You have to be intentional.
That's right. Kristen.
Yes.
Good topic this week.
Well, it is a good topic because this week, well, as we're releasing this, it's officially Valentine's Week.
Valentine's Week, that's right. Big thumbs up, double thumbs up for me.
Valentine's Week. I didn't know you got so excited about Valentine's Day.
Well, for a guy, for a man, there's certain, shouldn't I say, near guarantees. For today's topic, intimacy, you think of Valentine's,
yes,
birthdays, anniversaries. I mean, we're pretty much guaranteed if we don't screw it up.
That's the key. Don't screw it up.
Well, we try hard not to, but we want to go deeper today, though, with intimacy, Kristen, because we don't want it to just be on these special occasions.
Right. Intimacy isn't just for once a year or twice a year, Valentine's special occasions, but we should be deepening our intimacy on an intentional, regular basis because that's really what God designed marriage to be, a deep sense of closeness experienced between husband and wife.
Yes.
Why are you smiling like that?
When we talk about sex, we always get excited to talk about this topic. I mean, it's always a fun topic for a guy to talk about. But I think there's more that we want to talk about today that is deeper than just sex.
Exactly. Well, and I think I could start by going back to how we develop our understanding around this subject. I think how we grew up shapes our understanding and our conversation around this topic because this was a topic we didn't really talk about when we were growing up or we were I didn't as a kid, or we heard in church like, intimacy or sex is, a God gift within marriage, and don't have sex before you're married.
Don't do this, don't do that.
Yes. And so I feel like I grew up with this kind of like, it was kind of a taboo thing that we didn't really talk about. And so I feel like I came into marriage without a proper understanding of what intimacy really looks like.
Maybe a misunderstanding.
Yes, misunderstanding, incomplete understanding. And
role models were
different.
Distant.
Yes. Yeah,
yours were not very affectionate.
Right. I knew they loved each other. Of course. I never felt that they didn't. But as far as like showing affection that comes along with the sexual component of intimacy, that really wasn't modeled for me. Where
and I think we've talked about this in an earlier episode, how my parents were very intimate, very kissy, touchy, affectionate all the time, where my friends didn't even want to come in the house because they're just making out in the kitchen.
So with that, though, that's where you develop this understanding, or this expectation, that's what marriage is all about, and that we're going to be having sex every day of the week. Really, I feel like that's...
Boy, was I way off!
Did we do a podcast on unrealistic expectations?
Oh,
if not, that's coming up. But, okay, so back to intimacy and really understanding what it truly looks like in marriage. It's a deep sense of closeness, a bond. And if I could go back and tell my younger self as a young wife, I would say intimacy is more than sex, but it's the main way my husband connects.
Say that again, 'cause I agree.
Intimacy is more than just sex, but it is the main way my husband connects. And I think let's just put this disclaimer out too, that we're speaking in generalities, because for some spouses, it could be reversed. The woman has the higher sex drive, and that's the way she connects, where in the man doesn't. So, but I would say for a general sense, we'll say it's generally true for husbands and men that they have, they connect sexually, and women connect emotionally, because emotionally is another way we feel close and intimate with each other.
Yes. And Kristen, I was just thinking as you were talking there, sex and being intimate is a God gift. It is the most precious, incredible gift that He's given us But I know so many couples are missing out. It's a chore. It's duty, all these other things, and they're not connecting emotionally. We're going to talk about that, and they're just struggling and going through life, and they're not truly enjoying the gift that God has given them. And so we want to address that today and jump into some ways that we think we can help you guys deepen your intimacy on a bunch of levels. That, yes, sexual is part of that, but on some other ways, well, that is deep for you, it's deep for me, and we're going to hopefully get deeper in our relationship with Christ as well.
Yes, because I think, like you said, there's different ways that we experience intimacy in our marriage and different ways we connect with each other. And mainly, like I just said, I'm kind of reiterating, so I apologize, but mainly husbands connect sexually, wives connect emotionally. And so I remember when I first heard this, and it was a light bulb for me that, because back to our understanding growing up, I just thought, intimacy was only sex, and that we couldn't connect in other ways. And if I wasn't really fulfilled and really, having this hot and heavy and passionate dynamic sex life, that means we weren't intimate and close to each other. And that's so not true.
Right.
Because mainly, and I feel like the way we connect, the way God designed it, is that it's more of a symbiotic relationship where you connect sexually, I connect emotionally, but we're constantly giving and taking, mainly giving, but we're in the process of giving, we're also getting our needs met from one another. So when back to what I was going to say about what I heard this woman say was, don't you feel so close and intimate with your husband when he talks to you, when he connects with you on that emotional level, when you feel seen and heard and validated and you just feel understood and, I'm over there. Yes, 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 I'm nodding. And she said, well, your husband feels that way physically with touching and kissing and affection and sex. And so I was like, okay, I'm tracking with her. And she said, so what if your husband came to you and when you just had something on your heart and you wanted to share and you just wanted to connect with him emotionally, and he said, nah, not tonight. I got a headache. Nah, I'm too tired.
I don't feel like it.
Nah, I don't feel like it. I would be crushed. And
that's how I think the light bulb went on.
It was a light bulb because she said, well, that's how your husband feels when you're like just making flimsy excuses or you're putting other things above, being sexually intimate, and you're just, blowing him off or ignoring that need in him. That's like him saying, nah, I don't feel like talking to you tonight. Yep. I would be devastated. And so that really kind of helped shape and shift my understanding and the trajectory of our relationship in this way. When I realized we both have needs, they get met in different ways, and that sex is an important component of this intimate relationship.
And you, Kristen, that is so good how you connect that emotionally when we communicate and talk on this deeper level, and how men so often are going to connect that sexually. But too often over the years when we didn't realize this, when I was rebuffed, when my advances, when it's 9:30 at night and I'm rubbing your back and all these different things, it begins to be this no. Now, sometimes men start thinking you're rejecting them. Mm-hmm. And over time, the more and more I'm rejected, the more I maybe don't start initiating.
The more and more you're rejected, the less and less you're going to be likely to meet my needs.
Yeah, now, hey, let's talk. I'm busy.
Yes.
I'm working extra. Hey, and so I may start occupying my time with other things. Because what do I want to sit and connect? Because I can talk to you for hours, I have, and yet nothing's reciprocated. I'm not. I was trying to invest in you, and you weren't in me, or vice versa.
Right.
Man, I'm giving Chad sex anytime he wants, but he doesn't even sit down and listen to me.
Right.
He doesn't hear me. And so it can be a real challenge trying to figure this out, because both have got to give in sometimes ways they don't want to.
Right. Well, and again, let's go back to the context of marriage, in that it really is a relationship of selflessness in order to succeed. if the number one killer of marriage relationship is selfishness,
Yes.
because it's designed as God designed marriage to love each other like Christ loved the church, selfless, sacrificial, and that means giving up what we want and prioritizing our spouse and meeting their needs above our own. So that's setting the stage for a successful, satisfied relationship. But we have to get ourselves out of the way and thinking, no, it's all about me, getting my needs met. No, we get our needs met when we give.
Yes. So as we think of Valentine's week, what traditionally happens? The guy's going to hopefully find a nice place to go to dinner, hopefully buy a card, maybe chocolate, maybe flowers, maybe a combination.
Right.
Buying all those things, being selfless, thinking about you and what you like and what you need. Now, or anniversary or your birthday, Christmas, putting you first. But again, I go back to our earlier statement. It can't just be on special occasions.
Right.
I know when we were first dating and probably even first married, I probably bought you a lot more gifts than I do now.
That's
a lot
true.
more cards than I do now. I really do. So shame on me a little bit. I can do better. I think all guys can do better. It shouldn't just be, let's plan this nice restaurant. We need to be doing these things and being intentional on a regular basis to maintain the connection we have as husband and wife.
Yes.
As a married couple.
Well, I think all these gestures, these, like what you said, gifts and flowers and cards, those are nice ways to celebrate and communicate.
I want to celebrate you. I want to celebrate that you put up with me this long.
Well, there's celebration, but there's also little ways throughout the week, month, year that we can show value, show our spouse their priority, show our spouse that they matter. And it's all in ways of true connection. What makes you feel connected to me and me feel connected to you are different at times. Yeah. Now we share, there's some commonalities that are true for all couples and different types of intimacy. Like if I go down the list, we can probably break them up in physical, spiritual, and emotional categories where, we're talking about the physical. Yes, that's the NSTs, we like to call them, the non-sexual touching, the affection, the kissing, the hugs, the rubs on the back.
Kristen, I love non-sexual touches as well. I love when you rub my back. I love when you hold my hand.
Yes.
I love when you give me a kiss or you look hand. It really makes me feel good.
And it makes you feel connected to me.
I feel really connected.
And here's a little side note. For the longest time, though, you would ask for those, but I would be so hesitant because I always felt like they would lead to sex. Like, that just means if I were to walk by and just, rub your back or say, you look so good today, or give you a compliment or whatever. That just was the green light. And that just said, okay, let's proceed. Where I was like, I can't win. I'm trying to speak your love language, but I don't always want it to lead to that. So we had to figure that out and really communicate. We came up with NST, and I'd say, I'm giving you an NST, which means non-sexual touch, and that stops here. So I think that we had to figure that out, and I think that was a dance for a little while.
It was, and maybe some of you have seen that funny joke out there where the young son, or it could have been a daughter, turns to their mom and says, "Hey, Mom, did you want a boy or girl when you had me?" And the mom goes, I just wanted a back rub.
Exactly.
So sometimes those NSTs can wonderfully...
And they can lead to that, but they don't always have to. So there's different... I would even break down the physical into sexual and non-sexual connection. Because we do. I love getting a hug and saying, okay, this is just a hug. It's communicating warmth. It's communicating affection. It's communicating comfort. All of that, but it doesn't have to lead to sexual connection, which that's its own category of that's its own special way of connecting. Yes. And but also there's emotional, like we just said, the talking and sharing of feelings.
I was going to say there's more ways of emotional connection as well. It isn't just talking. Sure. What are some ways, Kristen, that you connect with me emotionally? How do I connect with you besides just sitting on the couch having a conversation?
Well, I think too, intellectual conversation though, not just, okay, we're just talking about shared feelings or how I'm feeling today, but also talking about a conversation, having a conversation about a topic that we both are fired up about. There's that, I think of the verse as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Having those sparring conversations where we really are sharing ideas, sharing thoughts on a certain topic, that's developing a bond of closeness because we're, it's a shared activity, shared conversation. What was your question again?
Well, how other ways? Okay. I think you said
Spit it out. Experiential.
Experiential. Yeah, we've had an experience together. Whether it's a walk in the woods, a golf cart ride, maybe we just avoided disasters for some reason, or you did those memories. We shared those.
Sharing memories, sharing activities, sharing an experience together. Yes,
those are emotional ways you connect because we shared that together. Kind of like the story we told where you went fleeing when the big giant bird about attacked me.
Yes.
We share those experiences, and there's that bond that we share.
And this just popped in my head, but I think more recently too, we share stories. As young parents, we connected and felt that sense of closeness by sharing in our kids, and now we are sharing with our grandkids. And I'm going to tell on us a little bit. So if our kids are listening, it's okay. It's too late now for us to get in trouble. Might hurt us moving forward. But so we had all 5 grandkids at Christmas time, and we sent all the parents out to dinner. And
so we had them just to ourselves.
Yes, we had all 5 just to ourselves. We
don't want the parents.
No parents. And so we sat, and it was dinner time. And so we sat them all at the kitchen table, and we said, okay, you guys, we have something for dinner, but you can't tell your parents. Again, we're breaking all the rules. I know this is not something we do on a regular basis, but it was Christmas.
Wasn't me.
And it was a special time. I had gotten these big ice cream cookies and from a specialty place around, and they're just so good. And I said, you guys, we're having ice cream sandwiches for dinner. And they got so excited. And so anyway, we didn't tell the parents, and we told the kids, this is just our special treat at Mimi and Pop. I shouldn't be saying this. But I use that to say, we brought that up in our conversation the other day, and we just giggled and we chuckled about it. And it was a fun shared memory that I felt close to you, you felt close to me. And so, again, just another way we experience intimacy, shared experiences, memories, activities. I'm trying to think, what else? We talked about the emotional, having those conversations and feelings. You're right, big one.
The most important.
The most important one is there's another way we connect our spiritual intimacy together. Connecting spiritually.
And Kristen, we didn't have this for many years of our marriage. We both grew up in church. We met at a Christian college. And the extent of our spiritual intimacy would be, I think I would pray for dinner, or you would pray for dinner. That was really it.
Yes.
It was up until about 10 years ago that we came to a place in our marriage. What are we going to do? We can't stay the same.
Yes.
Something's got to give. We got to change. And 2 big things we did, and we should have been doing these way earlier, so if you're listening, the number one thing we do on a daily basis, and we try and do this every single day, we're probably 99% accurate, we really work on it, is pray together daily. Yes. And that doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be this drawn out 30 minutes. It could be 30 seconds. It could be 3 seconds. It could be pray over you while you're sleeping. It's connecting us in a way that in our own human efforts, we don't connect well. We're very different. Mm-hmm. But when we're praying to Christ that, hey, God, forgive me for how I talked to Kristen. I was short with her. I was angry. Help me to be calmer, a better listener, or whatever that is. When she hears me pouring out my heart, or praying for our kids, or praying for our grandkids, and vice versa, if she's doing that, it draws you so close. I can't even explain. Yes, emotional connection. It's better than sexual connection, than emotional connection. It's a level that I'm telling you will change your marriage. And so some of you out there are looking for, we're missing something. I'm telling you, the spiritual connection may be what you're missing. I would encourage you to pray every day. Well, I don't know how. What do I say? Figure it out.
Right.
Look it up. Prayers online. It could be short, sweet. Bless my wife today. Watch over her today. Whatever it is. I'm telling you, it is a game changer. It was for us. We're probably sitting here today because of that habit we created.
That is true. That is a strong statement, and I would agree with that. And I will say too, that has been a game changer. And there have been days where we go through the motions, so to speak, and then there's other days where we're like, yes, we are pouring our hearts out. And it is, because I go back to think of the creation account in Genesis where Adam and Eve were created. And I loved this just one sentence that it says, and God walked with them in the garden in the cool of the day. And it just underscores the fact that God wanted to be part of their relationship. He designed it so he could be the third wheel, so to speak.
He's not the
third wheel. But you know what I'm saying? Like, our relationship is meant to have him included. That's just the way that our marriage works best, when we invite him into our relationship, because it's the way he designed it.
Yes.
And you're right. We were missing that. We were doing other things. We just weren't really connecting our spiritual walks together.
Yes.
Through praying together. And now I'll put a little plug in too for the YouVersion Bible plans that we like to read together. For those of you who may not know, there's an app called YouVersion, and it's just the Bible app on your phone, and it has all kinds of reading plans that you can share with each other. Go download it, check it out. If you do have it and you're not doing a marriage plan, we encourage you to take that next step, because that too is such a game changer. It not only brings us together spiritually, but it also takes us to that next level of that intellectual intimacy, because then we talk about it. I'll see Chad's comment, because you can comment on the plans, and I'll see your comment, and then I'll say, oh, that's an interesting way to think of it. I've never thought that way before. So, and I say something else, and so then we come back later and have this conversation like, hey, that was an interesting comment you wrote. Tell me how you got to that conclusion, or what makes you think that. So it's generating more intimacy, because we're talking about our spiritual connection, sharpening each other, helping each other grow. And so those two things, the spiritual a lot of the times couples will say, oh, we're missing something, like you said. So often it's the spiritual component that's the missing link in an intimate relationship.
And you know what we found? Again, our communication got better.
Yes.
Our sex got better.
Yes.
All these things, that how God created marriage, got better.
Yes.
Because we truly started putting him first and at the forefront, not an after effect.
Yes.
Just praying when something bad was happening.
Right.
And what a game changer for our marriage, Kristen. And so, when would you really think that? Hey, they're talking about sex in this podcast,
and then we end with God.
And God. But I'm telling you, it changed our marriage, and it can change yours as well. So no matter where you're at in your relationship, whether with Christ, with each other, man, keep diving in, keep being intentional, because it's that connection, that intimacy is what we really are all truly after in our marriage.
Yes, and I'll close with the visual, if I can describe it. Think of a triangle, and God is at the top, and then husband and wife are down at the bottom points. And then the closer each of us get to God, the closer that we're getting together. And that's just a helpful visual that we've shared over the years. I think, boy, we've talked for quite a few minutes here on all the different types of intimacy, honey, but I hope
they're all important.
They're all important.
They're all important. We can't have, again, if you think of a three-legged stool or a tripod, if you're missing one, something is off.
Correct.
So you have to be able to have that sexual intimacy. You've got to have deep emotional intimacy.
Yes.
And you really need that spiritual intimacy to truly have your marriage go to that next level. So we want to encourage you. So remember, guys, we're going to end with that. Yes. Because, guys, great marriages don't just happen. You have to be intentional.
And not just on Valentine's Day.
Exactly. So thanks for joining us, and have a happy Valentine's.
Have a great week. Thanks. We'll see you next time.